Problems with parents are always very complex, my friends, always. First and foremost, because we are designed in such a way that our consciousness holds no understanding of why we have the parents we do or how we came to choose them. Whether they chose us, or as they say, it was an order from above that placed us in a particular family, none of this is stored in our memory. And where there is no understanding, a flood of speculation takes over. Psychologists have long exploited this area and will continue to do so because it's their bread and butter. Parents, as they exist in our lives, if you truly reflect on it and view them through the lens of your own life experience, hold no inherent significance. Absolutely none. The way they affect us largely stems from our inability to understand who they are and why they are present in our lives. If you follow our method properly and have the need, a personal desire, to detach yourself from this parental program, one thorough dismantling is often enough. I'm always amazed by people who not only dwell on this issue but also seem unable to let it go. The fact that they're working through parental patterns often becomes to some extent an excuse for their own inability to act. Isn't it convenient for the subconscious to think, I couldn't do anything when I was under my parents' wing? I was a child. I didn't know any better. I wasn't capable of anything. So I bear no responsibility. How could I be held accountable? Seriously, guys. How could I possibly be held accountable? It's good if a mentally healthy mind can perceive a parent as a whole, recognizing both their positive qualities and the insignificant parts, then discarding the latter to create a new, perhaps idealized image to carry forward. There's still some harm in that, but it's far less damaging than seeing your parent as a demon that you have to metaphorically bury in a graveyard every day. However, both approaches are ultimately absurd, my friends. Your parents are simply people who gave birth to you, just as one biological being gives life to another. In the end, they don't owe you anything beyond that. Your resentment towards your parents stems from expectations imposed on you by a culturally driven mass psychosis that dictates what parents owe their children and what children owe their parents. This is an artificially created problem that occupies your mind, drains your time as you try to resolve it, and prevents you from using that time elsewhere. It doesn't allow you to. And you can endlessly try to resolve the parental program and never succeed, because this problem cannot be resolved as long as it remains a problem. You just have to make it stop being a problem, but to do this, you need clarity of mind and reason. You need to view your parents not through the lens of yourself but from an outside perspective. Your parents are just people, each with their own set of problems, possibilities, and limitations. And you, their child, as an extension of them, are also just a person. What does all of this have to do with you now? Nothing. It's all in the past. So why carry that baggage through your life? Naturally, we begin to raise our own children in the same way, repeating the patterns we learned from our parents. Either we raise them in exactly the opposite way, or we completely replicate our parents' behavior and cause the same damage to our own children. And we wouldn't attach so much importance to these parental patterns if it weren't for the cultural context. Today it's become trendy to focus on these issues. For instance, 200 years ago, such a trend simply didn't exist.
Как только 14-15 лет
And once someone turned 14 or
а у нас
15, they were pushed out into the world to fend for themselves. There was no resentment towards parents, regardless of class, whether peasant or noble. At a certain age, adolescents were expected to live independently, and resentment towards parents would have been considered absurd, pure absurdity. But today this problem has become a lucrative business. It's an area ripe for exploitation. Think about it, and before you recognize a problem, ask yourself, who benefits from it? Who benefits from the existence of this problem? Who benefits from you spending your life not building your future or the future of your children, but airing your dirty laundry that no longer has any relevance to your life? We take a non-existent problem, a mere illusion, and turn it into a major problem. Instead of investing our time in the future, we waste it on the past. As a result, we have no time to focus on what lies ahead. It's not your fault. It's your misfortune, and it has catastrophic consequences. It's not just that you're investing your time inefficiently, but that you fell into the trap. You got caught up in the trend of trying to solve parental issues because it is popular. It is trendy to talk about psychological problems related to parents. Moreover, the consciousness quickly regresses to a childlike state, and we stop expecting anything but pity and sympathy from those around us. After all, if we start talking about our parents and childhood traumas, who in their right mind would judge someone who had such a terrible childhood? But that's nonsense, my friends. You're adults now, and you probably have children of your own. And your parents are elderly. Look at them, they're old, unfortunate people who did the best they could to survive. Just look at them with different eyes. And why are they unfortunate? Well, because they're following a program that was created a long time ago, and there's nothing they can do to break free from it. So are they unfortunate because they imposed this program on their children? They are unfortunate because they carry that program and nothing else. Their deepest need is to pass it on to you or somebody else because that is the only way they can leave a mark on the world. That's how they see it. Look at them through that lens. What kind of reasonable behavior, conclusions, or help are you expecting from them? They're simply following a program, performing a function. Perhaps their purpose was to fulfill their function so that by observing them, you would find yourself here today. Can I just add a few words on the topic of parents? I gave my mom the links to Ksenia Evgenivna's website, and she purchased all the seminars. Since she started to cleanse her astral body, the results have been absolutely fantastic. She no longer feels any envy or anything like that. See, our parents aren't completely hopeless. But you know what's particularly interesting, Alia? If you had brought her all those seminars yourself and said, "Here mom, listen to these," she probably would have brushed you off, saying, "You know, dear daughter, I think you've joined a sect, and you need to be urgently rescued." She might even have turned to a priest and that would have been the end of it. But since your mom ordered them herself, paid for them herself, and is practicing on her own, the value of the experience is much higher. Well done, Alia. You've handled this very wisely from a psychological perspective. In this case, it is very important not to feel sorry for her or try to help her too generously because any attempt to help inevitably comes with expectations of reward, gratitude, or praise from your parents. You know, I once had a friend who made a fortune during the 90s. He had everything, cars, apartments, cottages, the whole package, everything that from a Soviet point of view symbolized the pinnacle of success. One day he went to visit his parents. It's worth noting that he had a childhood trauma and was always trying to prove something to them, especially his father, who was a high-ranking party official. When he visited, his father, now retired, was working in the garden. The son said to him, "Dad, I'm launching a new project, and I've just bought an apartment. What do you think I should do?" His father looked up from his gardening and replied, "Son, how should I know what you should do? You're smart enough. I've got nothing more to teach you. Do whatever you want." And these words plunged the son into a severe depression. He thought, how am I supposed to live now? Who am I supposed to fight against? What imaginary foes? Who do I have left to prove myself to? It was a paradox he couldn't reconcile.